Public parks are supposed to be peaceful. Green grass, the sounds of birds, the breeze running through trees. They're places where families picnic, couples take walks, and people go to unwind. But when the sun sets and the crowds disappear, parks can become something else entirely. The emptiness, the echoing silence, the thickening shadows. It all opens the door to encounters no one wants to have. From stalkers lurking in the bushes to unexplained whispers under moonlight, some people never look at parks the same way again. Tonight, we're diving into 3 terrifying real experiences that happened in ordinary parks. These stories were shared by real people who'll never walk through one again without looking over their shoulder. So lock your doors, dim the lights, and maybe think twice before taking that late-night stroll through the woods. Story 1. The Jogger. I used to go jogging every evening after work. It was my way of unwinding after a long day. I live in a smaller city in Oregon, and my go-to spot was a public park that winds around a man-made lake. Beautiful, peaceful. At least that's what I thought. This all happened back in 2022. It was late October and the days were getting shorter. I usually ran the loop around 6:30 p.m., but that evening I was held up at work, so I didn't get there until almost 8. The park was dim with only a few weak lamps lighting the path. I figured I'd just do one quick loop and head home. About halfway through, I noticed someone walking ahead of me. At first, I thought it was another jogger, but they were moving slowly, almost too slowly, like they were just drifting. I wasn't trying to scare anyone, so I gave a polite, "Excuse me," as I passed. No response. I glanced over, and that's when I saw them clearly for the first time. It was a man, at least, I think it was a man. He was barefoot, wearing a hoodie and dirty khakis, and he was swaying slightly as he stood there. I don't know how to explain it, but the moment I looked at him, this cold chill ran down my spine. I picked up my pace, trying not to make it obvious that I was disturbed. Then I heard footsteps behind me. I turned around casually, and he was there, closer than before, still swaying, still staring. At first I told myself he might just be walking in the same direction, but every time I sped up, so did he. Whenever I slowed down, he slowed too. I didn't hear him breathing, coughing, nothing. Just those soft, shuffling footsteps. I reached one of the emergency call poles and hovered near it. He stopped too, dead still, just watching. I didn't press the button. I wasn't ready to admit something was seriously wrong. I decided to take a shortcut down a side path to the playground and then loop back toward the parking lot. When I turned to go down the path, I lost sight of him for a second. I figured I shook him. But as I jogged past the swings, I noticed something out of the corner of my eye. He was already there, standing near the slide, swaying, arms at his sides, and tilting his head like an animal sizing me up. I froze. This couldn't be real. How did he get there so fast? I took off running. I didn't look back. I sprinted all the way through the trees, ignoring the trail and cutting through brush, scraping my legs and arms, not caring about anything but distance. When I got to the parking lot, I looked back. He was there again, standing just at the edge of the trees, watching. I swear he hadn't run. He was just there, like he blinked into existence. I jumped into my car, locked the doors, and peeled out. That was the last time I ran at that park. A week later, I read an article online. Apparently, a homeless man had been arrested in that same park after trying to lure a teenager off the path. The description matched him. But the weirdest part? The article said the man was arrested on September 17th, over a month before I saw him. Was it a copycat? Or something else? All I know is, whatever was watching me that night, it wasn't entirely human. Story 2. The Whisper Bench. I grew up in Northern Virginia, in a town with a decent mix of suburb and forest. There was this small public park near our neighborhood, a quiet little place called Hamilton Grove. A single loop trail, a few benches, and a playground that had definitely seen better days. But the thing everyone knew about was the bench. It sat near a cluster of trees on the far end of the loop, alone, always a bit overgrown. People called it the Whisper Bench. Kids would dare each other to sit there at night saying they'd hear voices if they stayed long enough. You know, typical urban legend stuff. I never bought into it. I'm not really the superstitious type, but one summer night when I was 23, I decided to find out for myself. It was around 11 p.m. I'd had a couple drinks, nothing crazy. I was just feeling restless. So I grabbed my flashlight and walked to the park. Figured I'd get some fresh air. Maybe sit on the bench for 5 minutes and prove to myself it was just a dumb story. It was quiet. The kind of quiet that presses on your eardrums. I followed. The gravel path past the old swings and finally saw it. The whisper bench. It looked normal enough. Weathered wood, flaking green paint, a little moss on the legs. I sat down and waited, and for a while, nothing happened. Just the occasional chirp of bugs and the wind through trees. Then something shifted. It was like the air got heavier. The silence changed. It wasn't empty anymore. It felt crowded. That's when I heard it. A whisper, just behind my right ear. At first I thought it was wind, but then it said my name. Marisa, soft, almost like someone was trying not to be heard. I jumped up so fast I dropped my flashlight. It clattered into the grass, and I spun around, heart pounding. No one there. I scanned the area with my light, breathing hard. Nothing but trees and empty trail. I even walked a few yards into the brush. Still nothing. But when I walked back to the bench to grab my phone, the whisper came again, this time in my left ear. Stay. I didn't even look back. I bolted down the path, flashlight swinging wildly. Halfway out of the park, I realized something strange. I didn't hear my own footsteps. No gravel crunch, no rustling grass, just silence. Like the air around me had muted everything. I didn't slow down until I was on the sidewalk near the road. That's when the sounds returned. The crickets, the cars in the distance, the wind. I never told anyone the full story. Not until now. But I did some digging a few days later. Turns out a man had taken his own life on that bench back in 1994. Supposedly he'd written a note to his wife saying, "I'll wait where we first met." She never showed. I don't know if that's what I felt that night, but I'll never step foot near that bench again. Story 3. The Hollow Man. Back in 2019, I worked security for a private company contracted by the city to monitor certain public areas overnight, one of them being a large urban park in downtown Cleveland. During the day, it was a nice place. Joggers, food trucks, families. At night, though, it was a different world. Empty, echoey, and unsettlingly quiet. We rotated shifts. Mine was always 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. I mostly stayed in the small guard shack, near the north entrance, but I had to walk the perimeter once every hour. Standard procedure. Most nights were uneventful, until one Tuesday in October. It was around 2:30 a.m. when I started my second walk of the night. The park was completely deserted. No cars in the lot. No homeless folks hiding out like we sometimes had. Just silence. I was halfway through my walk when I saw him. At the far end of the path, near the War Memorial statue, there was a man, just standing there, perfectly still, no movement at all. He looked tall, thin, wearing what looked like a long coat. I paused and called out, "Sir, park's closed." No reaction. I got a little closer and shined my flashlight at him. That's when my stomach dropped. There was no face. Not like it was hidden or turned away. Just blank. Smooth. Like a mannequin head painted matte black. I blinked and he was gone. I know what you're thinking. Maybe I was tired seeing things. But I know what I saw. I circled the statue. No sign of anyone. I was shaken, but I kept walking. That's when I started hearing it. This low, hollow hum coming from the trees. It didn't sound human. It felt bone deep, like it was vibrating in my chest. I called my supervisor, told him I thought someone was messing around in the park. He said to wait in the shack and lock the door, so I did.